I love hiking, and I'm always up for a challenge. So this time, I decided to take it a step further. I set my sights on North Africa's highest peak, Mount Toubkal. Our destination, Morocco. It sounded simple on paper, but I knew it would push me, both physically and mentally. But this time, I wasn't doing it alone. My dad, who is 61, was coming with me. Like every other trip, it starts at the airport. We checked in, went through security, grabbed something to eat, and then just waited. Our flight got delayed by 2 hours. But with this sunset, I didn't really mind the 2-hour delay. And finally, we reached Marrakesh.
After a night in Marrakesh, we met our guide at 8 am and left the city behind. At first, it still felt busy. Houses, traffic, everything close together. But the further we drove, the more that started to change. The buildings became more spread out, the roads quieter, and soon the road began to wind and slowly climb into the mountains. With every turn, the landscape opened up more, and in the distance, we could see the mountains. Just thinking about how in less than 24 hours we'd be standing on top of one of them felt unreal. From here, it looked completely unreachable. When we arrived in Imouil, we first gathered at the local base with the rest of the group. We got more info about the next 2 days while having a cup of traditional Moroccan tea. This was also where we had the option to rent extra gear. Things like crampons, helmets and ice axes. Higher up the mountain, they were going to be necessary. We were totally caught off guard by this, because I was of the understanding that there would be minimal snow and we wouldn't need any of that. But well, this just added to the adventure. Not long after, at around 10 to 10:30 in the morning, we finally started walking. The first part of the hike felt pretty relaxed. We passed through small villages, saw locals going on about their day, and even crossed a wide open field that felt completely out of place surrounded by mountains. After a while, we reached a checkpoint at the entrance of Toubkal National Park, where we had to show our passports. There was an older Austrian couple there, clearly frustrated because they weren't allowed to continue. They didn't have a guide, and without one, you're simply not allowed into the national park. It was a clear reminder that this isn't a hike you can just do on your own. Having a guide here isn't optional, it's mandatory. Along the way, there was also a surprising number of little shops and stands. And I swear, I've seen more oranges on this trip than I have in my entire life. Fresh orange juice everywhere. You're never more than a few minutes away from one. Not long after, we continued deeper into the valley until we reached Sidi Chamharouch. We sat down, took a proper break and had a meal. Some salad, pasta and even fish, sourced locally from the river running through the valley. For us, it was just our lunch stop. But the place does have a deeper meaning. The name Sidi is a title of respect, often used for saints or holy figures. And Chamharouch refers to a legendary jinn, a spirit in local folklore, believed to protect these mountains. There's even a large white rock there that's considered sacred, and people still come to this place for spiritual reasons. That lunch break was a good moment to recharge, because from this point on, things started to get a lot more serious. Once we left Sidi Chamharouch, the real climb began. The trail got steeper, the terrain rougher, and you could really start to feel the altitude. We slowed down, and instead of pushing through, we started taking regular breaks. About every 40 minutes, we'd stop, sit down for a few minutes, and then continue.
नेपालमा नि यस्तो धेरै हुन्छ नि
As we gained more elevation, the landscape began to change completely. The greenery disappeared. The surroundings became more barren, more rocky, and eventually we started hitting snow and ice. And that's when I understood why it was mandatory to have rented all that gear. We were properly in the high mountains now. Everything around us felt different. Colder, harsher, but also a lot more exciting. And somewhere up there, hidden in all that snow and rock, was the Toubkal refuge, our destination for that day, and the final stop before attempting the summit of Mount Toubkal. After reaching base camp, we got into our room. And as you can see, luxury is definitely not the word I use to describe it. It was basically one giant bunk bed where you sleep shoulder to shoulder next to strangers. After dinner and an incredible sunset over the mountains, it was time to get some early sleep, since our alarms were set for 2:30 in the morning for summit day. We also had a cat sleeping in our room the entire night, running over people and causing a lot of noises. But somehow, despite all of that, I actually slept surprisingly well and didn't wake up once during the night. Waking up at 2:30 a.m. didn't feel as bad as I expected, probably because of all the excitement. I made sure to eat and drink a lot, since staying hydrated is very important to help prevent altitude sickness. And considering that not even 30 hours earlier, we were still in Belgium at an altitude of just 7 meters, this was definitely necessary. It was also my first time ever putting on crampons, holding an ice axe, or even walking through snow this deep. The ascent was more demanding than I anticipated. A couple of people from our group decided to return to base camp. And honestly, just knowing that turning back was an option made the climb mentally even harder. My dad was struggling a lot too, but knowing both him and myself, I knew there was no chance we wouldn't make it to the top. At one point, my calves started cramping with almost every step I took. During every break, I made sure to stretch them out and massage them a bit before continuing. But as the sun slowly started to rise, we finally began seeing more than just a few flashing white lights in the darkness. We could actually see how high we had climbed, and how beautiful it was up there. From that point on, it wasn't long before we reached the summit. We could even see the top from there, and somehow that gave us the final bit of energy we needed. The view at the summit of Mount Toubkal felt unreal. I was proud of myself, but even more proud of my dad for making it this far. And after that, it was time to descend. And like on almost every other hike I've done, this is the part where I sprained my ankle. But since it has happened so many times before, I know how to deal with it. We still had around 20 kilometers and 2,500 meters of descent ahead of us. But that's all part of the journey.